So let's start with today's class. Today is CB2 orientation session. So I will be taking you guys with all the a pattern of CB2, what is expected in this exam from your side, how we are going to proceed, what is the syllabus, when are we aiming to complete the syllabus. So all the details related to CB2 we will be discussing in today's orientation session. So any doubts, anything that you have related to the subject, not specific doubts, any general doubts related to the subject, feel free to put in the chat section so that we can discuss. So I want the session to be interactive, so make sure that you are participating in the session. Any doubts, anything that you have, just feel free to put in the chat section. Rest any other details that you want from my side related to the subject. So all the details, I will try to cover up all the details in today's orientation session related to the subject, so that you also know that what is going to be the pattern for the next 6 months, like say from October till April, if the classes are going to continue, then how we are going to proceed for these coming months. Clear? So let's start with basically index portion. Let me first take you with the index portion, that exactly how many chapters are there. So any idea to any one of you, like how many chapters are there in CB2? Anyone who has gone through the index and knows how many chapters do we have in this particular subject? Guys, I want inputs from your side. So all the students who are taking today's class, make use of chat section and just input your answers. How many chapters do we have in CB2? चैप्टर्स तो सबको पता है कितने चैप्टर्स हैं, इतना तो पता होना चाहिए अगर आपने सब्जेक्ट स्टार्ट किया है तो. Okay, so I have started receiving 23, 23, 22. Okay, so we have 23 chapters in the course. Okay, so this is what the course is all about. If you go through the chapters, you can see the chapter's name: economic concepts and systems, main strands of economic thinking, supply and demand. Then you have different type of markets, perfect competition and monopoly. Then we have pricing strategies, market failure. Then from chapter 11, basically we start with macroeconomics, and then at the end we have this theory of harmonization and monetary union, and debates on theory and policy. So from chapter 1 till chapter 10, we have this section of microeconomics, and from chapter 11 onwards, basically we start with macro. So micro कहाँ तक है आपका? From chapter 1 to 10 we have micro, and chapter 11 onwards we have macro. Now both the economics topic, like micro as well as macro, both are important from exam point of view. So you should not think like this, that in micro I have, let's say, 10 chapters, so that means a major proportion is of macro. Nothing is like this. Both the parts, be it micro or macro, are important from exam perspective. Now any idea what is the exam pattern? Guys, quickly comment on exam pattern. So what is the exam pattern of this subject? I am talking both from II as well as IFOA perspective. I will be taking you through the exam pattern from both the perspective. So what's the exam pattern of this subject? So this is Institute and Faculty of Actuaries. So this is an example of September 2021 IFOA paper. So see, I just want you guys to just go through the paper, see how many we have different type of MCQs, and if you see the marking of each MCQ, it is 1.5 marks allotted to MCQ. So how many MCQs do we have? If we start from number 1, you can see MCQs are going on till question 26. So that means from question 1 to question 26, we have MCQs each of 1.5 marks each. Now from 1 to 26, that means 26 MCQs of 1.5 marks each are tested in IFOA exam from this particular subject. Now sometimes these MCQs are very easy because they keep on repeating, and sometimes they become very difficult. The main problem associated with MCQs is that you cannot leave anything. You basically have to do everything because you can be tested on any of the topic. Any of the topic can be tested in MCQ, so you should be comfortable with all the topics to make sure that you are performing well in MCQs. So even if you perform good in MCQ, there is a high probability that you would be able to clear your exam, because you can see that there are around 26 MCQs of 1.5 marks each. So we have to be very well versed with the course so that we can score good in MCQs. Now after MCQs, you can see then we have one question of 5 mark, next question again is of 5 mark, next question 6 marks, next question 5 marks, then we have question 31 again for 5 marks, question 32 is for 5, 33 for 4, 34 for 6, 35 for 10 and 36 for 10. So this is what the pattern is. So till 26 questions we have 1.5 marks each MCQ. Then generally there are 2 long questions of 10 marks each. So that means 26 questions of 1.5 marks is something in which you can score very high. Then in these 2 questions of 10 marks where they are basically targeting application skills questions, these are not going to be direct questions, these are going to be application oriented questions. So in this application oriented questions, again you can be tested, you can see the weightage is around 10 marks each of these questions. So you should perform well in these type of questions, and can be tested of any of the macro as well as micro. And then you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have around 8 other questions that can be of either 5, 4 or 6 marks depending on the question being asked. So this is the pattern of exam for your IFOA. Any doubts in pattern, just in pattern understanding to any of you? Anyone who is not clear just with pattern understanding of IFOA? Now let's go through II pattern. Many students appear this exam from II as well. I will be discussing what's the difference from both II as well as IFOA for this particular exam. So if you take, if I go through the II pattern for September 2021, again we have MCQs plus objective questions. Again you can see the MCQ is of 1.5 marks each only. So that means MCQ का जो आपका score है, that's same for both II as well as IFOA. So you can see again we have different MCQs. Again from question 1 to question 26 we have MCQs of 1.5 marks. Then you can see question 27 for 4, question 28 for 8, 29 for 10, 30 for 5, 31 for 7, 32 for 9, 33 for 9, 34 5, 35 4. So again you can see 2 main long questions are there. 33 is long question, 32 is long question, and 29 again is a long question. So India ke andar you can get 2 to 3 long questions and then 7 to 8 short questions, some of 4 marks, some of 5 marks, some of 6, some of 7. So this is the pattern. Question 27 onwards basically they start with the subjective portion. So MCQs का weightage same है दोनों पेपर में, 26 MCQs each of 1.5 marks, and then is your remaining paper. Any doubts in IFOA pattern to any of you? Okay. So now let's see II versus IFOA. Now what is good for this particular subject is that whether you appear from II or you appear from IFOA, the result is good in both the societies, specifically for this particular exam. That is, in both the societies we expect around 50 to 55% passing percentage. That means if 100 students are appearing, then around 50 to 55 will be able to clear if they are performing well in the exam. Pattern is almost same. This is one such exam जिसका pattern बिल्कुल same है, मतलब for both II and IFOA you can see we have similar set of pattern. Now what majorly is the difference is in IFOA they target more of technical and application oriented questions. Like the case studies part 20 marks question or a 6 marker, it will be going to be extremely technical and application based question. That means nothing would be there from the core reading, because if the exams are going to be online, they have completely mentioned that the exams are open book. So if the exams are open book, you cannot refer anything from the core reading. Although you can use core reading in case you want to an exam, but you cannot directly copy anything from the core reading, because otherwise it will be categorized as plagiarism issue. So since we are not allowed to directly copy anything from the core reading, so that is why the questions are likely to be application skills. But they will not target any particular, like in economics, they will not be targeting any particular country. The questions will be general, but using your application oriented skills. Now in II, what would be the issue is that they target more of recent issues which are going on, like demonetization. When it was going on, they targeted demonetization in CB2. So whatever changes, like if interest rates are going down, you can get a question what is the situation of interest rates going down. So whatever is going on in an economy around, so II generally targets that particular questions when they are targeting long questions. So recent issues become a target for II exams, and more of application oriented questions become target for IFOA exams. Now both these, for this particular exam, I recommend that you can go from either of the society, because the passing percentage is good irrespective of whichever society you go for, because the major advantage that you have is MCQs, but definitely MCQ भी आप तभी कर पाओगे when you are very well versed with the course. So course understanding is of utmost importance. You cannot think that I will do this at the end of the course, or I will just simply see the MCQs from the book in II. You cannot refer anything while doing the exam, and generally earlier MCQs used to repeat themselves, but now we have different set of MCQs. Every time new set of MCQs is there. So definitely the exam is getting difficult day by day, especially when the exams have become online. The theory exams have become difficult. So we need great understanding of the course, irrespective of whichever society we are planning from. Now very common question that I always hear from students is, especially from those students who are from science background, that I am not very well versed with economics, so do you think I should appear for this exam? So see, you don't have any option. If you are pursuing actuarial, you definitely have to clear all the 13 exams. So at any point of time you will have to appear for CB1 or CB2, irrespective whether you are a science student or a commerce student. So even if you are a science student, everything is taught from very basic. Like chapter 1 जो भी है हमारा, that is just speaking about microeconomics, macroeconomics, scarcity, consumption, production. From chapter 2, 3, they are just very basic chapters in which we discuss about demand and supply. So even if you are from a science background, there are 4 to 5 basic chapters that build your core skills, and after that we start with major economics course. So आप ये मान के चलो, initial 7 to 8 chapters will just be targeting on building up of base economics, and after that is the real economics would start. So earlier we used to have, we were not tested on ISLM curves or indifference curves or budget line, but after 2019 changes, all these things have been incorporated in economics subject. So there are a lot of changes in this subject, so lot of things to do, lot of concepts, lot of topics are there, and subject is quite extensive. The problem is this subject is that there are MCQs, and MCQs can be tested on any of the topic, and there are so many topics that you cannot leave any of the topic. So, and the main issue is that you have to basically refer different material. One is like you will have to refer acted material. Like if you have 2019 material, you can refer that 2019 material. Plus you will have to check if there are any CMP upgrades. CMP upgrades means we just have to check that is there any changes in the material from 2019 to 2020, 2020 to 2021, 2021 to 2022. If there are any changes, I just have to highlight in when we are referring that particular material. So you have to refer acted material, plus just have to check for any CMP upgrade. I will be telling you the upgrades as in when we are going for any particular topic or any particular chapter. But the main issue in this book is there is no content in this book. There are, if you have gone through the co-reading, there are only questions. And there is checklist. Checklist means there are topics mentioned that a candidate should be aware of if he or she is planning for this subject. So only the checklist is mentioned and only the questions are mentioned. That means there is no content to refer to. So this book is just for okay, just seeing the checklist. Okay, I know this, I know this, I know this, I know this, and just for practicing the questions, because at the end of each particular chapter you have practice questions, and at the end of the chapter 23 onwards we start with X series. So you only have X series and practice questions plus checklist. Now checklist helps you to understand, okay, this is there in their course, and you should be aware of these particular things. Now from where to study, what to do, how to study. So how basically we have to study is while going through the material or while going through the classes, while going through the videos, I will be basically covering on the two things. First one is John Sloman book, 10th edition, and the other one is old co-reading. So when we are studying in class or while you are referring to videos, you basically have to remember that in every class I am basically referring either to John Sloman book or to old co-reading material, or if we are doing practice questions, we are either referring the new material or we are referring to past paper. So basically we are studying from 3 books when we are studying for CB2. So you don't have to refer directly to old co-reading. The problem is you don't know what is there in the course, how it has been updated, what are the updates, is this thing the same as it was tested earlier, do I have to do in the similar way. So you don't have to rely completely on old co-reading, first thing. Plus you don't have to rely completely on John Sloman because it is quite extensive. Something which is not even there in the course, that is also there in John Sloman, and you don't have to blindly read the material. So what you have to do is, you just have to simply refer to videos, or if you are taking live class, just make sure you are referring to the content which is being discussed in both these classes. Other than this content, you simply have to do the practice questions plus the X series questions plus the summary list and assignments that I will be discussing. That means all the content which is required for the exam will be discussed in these two things, either videos or live class, and you don't have to refer to any other thing apart from this thing. Because while recording the videos or while taking the live class, I am accessing material from different things, from your old material, from your new material, from John Sloman, plus the recent issues that are there in the economy. I am referring that as well. So you don't have to worry about that how I have to study from Sloman or how I have to study from old material. You simply have to refer to all these things. Now after these two things, you have to do practice questions. Some of the practice questions we would be definitely discussing in the class itself. So some will be left for self-study. So whatever questions are left for self-study, you just have to practice the questions at the end of each chapter from your updated material. Now after that, what you have to do is, you have to do chapter-wise summary list. Now what is summary list? Has anyone yet gone through summary list? It has been updated on the content browser. So have you seen, guys, have you seen what is summary list? I want inputs from you guys. So what is summary list? All those who have access to key must have gone through summary list. So what content is there in CB2 summary list? ये अभी तक किसी ने देखी नहीं, ऐसा तो नहीं हो सकता कि अभी तक आपने देखी नहीं. Updated summary list has already been uploaded on content browser. So what is there in that summary list? I want from you guys. Okay, correct. So past papers questions, we have in summary list of past paper questions of both IFOA as well as II. So that means in what you have to do is, after completion of videos and after attending the live class, you have to, first thing is you have to just make sure that you are practicing the questions. After that you have to do your summary list. So in summary list we have, what we have done is chapter wise segregation is there of past paper questions of both IFOA as well as II. So irrespective of whichever society you are planning, you have to make sure that you are doing questions of both IFOA as well as II while doing your summary list. So some of the past papers questions I will be discussing in class itself. Again, the questions which are left for self-study, just make sure that you are doing those questions. Now after summary list completion, what you have to do is, then there are chapter wise assignments. Now chapter wise assignments में क्या है? It's a list of questions. Again, it has been prepared chapter wise. So what is expected from your side is that as soon as a particular chapter is over from my side, we are done with its past papers discussion questions. What you are expected to do is, you have to complete its practice questions, you have to complete its summary list, and then you have chapter wise assignments. So just make sure जैसे जैसे आपका chapter complete हुआ जा रहा है, वैसे वैसे you are done with your assignments. So for assignments, I have updated one schedule as well. In that particular schedule, there are deadlines mentioned for each particular assignment. Like for example, I would have mentioned that on 15th November, you should be done with assignment of chapter 3-4. By 20th November, you should be done with assignment of chapter 5. So that means this is a deadline provided to you that by 15th November, you should be done with videos, live class, practice questions and summary list of chapter 3-4 along with its assignment submission. By 30th November, the same steps should be completed for chapter 5. So you will be aware that how the course will be proceeding, because all the deadlines have been mentioned on your schedule, which is there on your browser. Now apart from this assignment schedule, we have UT's dates as well. So there will be different UTs on different dates for the different set of chapters. The way in which the chapters are combined in exam, the same way you will be getting your UTs. So the pattern of UTs would be like similarly to the pattern of exams. So there would be UTs for both II as well as IFOA students. We would be asking your society and accordingly you will be receiving your UT. So UT's date are also uploaded. So आप भी अगर आज भी आप अपना schedule देखते हो तो you know कि when is my UT for this particular chapter, when is my UT for this particular chapter. So that means you know that when the course will get over by seeing that particular UT schedule. And then we have mock dates mentioned. So in mock dates, we have already mentioned this is the date for II mock, this is the date for IFOA mock. So II का mock II की dates के हिसाब से, IFOA का mock IFOA की dates के हिसाब से. So all the dates have already been mentioned in advance, and you have to just make sure that while revising, my course will proceed as per these dates. Like you must be aware of the course completion dates, everything. जो भी आपको questions होते हैं, those questions are already answered in your schedule, because if you are keeping the mock, that means my syllabus will get over at least 10 to 15 days before that date of mock. Okay, so you can anticipate that when the syllabus would be completed, you can anticipate the pattern of the chapters, the pattern in which the assignments deadlines are scheduled, and the similar pattern we are going to proceed in class. and then UTs and mocks are there. You will be getting written feedback from my side on your attempted UTs and mocks. So in first class, I always request students, just make sure कि irrespective of whether you are prepared for exam or not, just make sure you are attempting your UTs and mocks on time. You will be provided with a stipulated timing. You just have to submit in that particular time. It will get checked and you will be marked, and you will be receiving individual feedback on your attempted UT and mock. So that feedback will definitely help you to realize your important improvement areas, and you don't have to worry that feedback will be provided definitely before the exams. And we make sure that, for example, if exam is, let's suppose, on 5th March, then we make sure that mock is conducted at least 10 days before exam, so that the feedback can also be provided and you can work on that particular feedback. So these are some of the general questions that I always being asked, that ma'am, if my exam is on 5th March, then when would the mock be? So you already know your exam dates, that, and in the similar manner you already know your UTs and mock dates in advance from our side. My course and everything will be proceeding as per these dates only. So any doubts to any of you in the pattern? Like if I ask you that how we will be proceeding, like if you are doing 7th or 8th chapter, then you should not be having any issues with the with the steps. The first step is either watching videos or attending live class. Second step is completion of practice questions. Third step, completion of summary list. Fourth step, completion of assignments. Fifth step, preparing for your duties as per the dates mentioned. And last step is preparation of mock as per the dates mentioned. Now, you don't have to refer to any material, anything. The videos and live classes are sufficient enough. So any doubts to any of you before I start with the content discussion? Any doubts to anyone with respect to pattern of exam, with respect to how we are proceeding? Anything which is not clear, you can definitely ask me. Make use of chat section as much as you can. We have different set of students, like some are planning from IFOA, some are planning from II. Any doubts to anyone? Guys, please be interactive. I want you guys to be as interactive as possible. Okay, there is one question. How do we submit our papers? You will be provided with all the details on your WhatsApp, so you don't have to worry about this. You will get the details for your UTs and mock submission as per the timings of the UTs and mocks, so you don't have to worry about this. But everything will be in the new pattern only. That means we will not be accepting any written UT or mock. We will only be accepting typed UT. Okay, so let's start with our content for the first class. Let's discuss circular flow of income. This is very important from your MCQ as perspective, as well as this is important from a 5-marker point of view. Now, what is circular flow of income? Now, in an economy, we basically have two different sectors. One is productive sector and the other one is consumption sector. Productive sector is another name is firms. Consumption sector is households. So firms, what do firms do? Firms produce goods and services. Now, how do firms produce goods and services? Definitely, in order to produce goods and services, they would require some factors, some material, something in order to produce goods and services. So, what the requirements are there? Those requirements are known as factors of production. That means firms would require factors of production in order to produce goods and services. Now, what are the factors of production? Like firms would require land. In case if I want to produce a particular good or service, the first thing that I would require to produce is I would require land. Apart from land, can I say I would require labor? I would definitely require man force in order to produce goods. And can I say I also require capital? Until and unless I don't have capital, how would I be able to produce? So that means there are different factors of production that this productive sector basically requires in order to produce goods and services. So those factors of production are land, labor, capital. Now, who owns these land, labor and capital? Supposingly, if I am working for a particular company, then can I say that I am providing them labor? Supposingly, if I have an extra land and I am renting out to a particular company, can I say them that I am giving them land as my factor of production so that they can produce goods and services on that particular land? If I have an extra capital and I am investing by either subscribing to bond or by subscribing to shares and lending it to different companies so that they can make use of this capital, can provide me return and can make goods and services. So, जिनके पास भी excess factors of production है, what they are doing is they are giving these factors of production to these firms so that they can produce goods and services. So, can we say these households are also owners of factors of production? Now, they provide, these factors of production to firms. With the help of these factors of production, firms produce goods and services. And what will they get in return of providing factors of production? Like if you are providing land, you get rent on land. If you are providing labor, you get wages and salaries. If you are providing capital, you get interest. So, in return of these factors of production, firms would provide factor incomes. From these factor incomes, like if I am getting rent, what will happen? I will be either saving rent or I will be using that rent to consume a particular good or service. If I am getting my salary, what am I doing? Something will be saved, some portion will be saved and some portion will be consumed. Same thing goes for interest. That means from these factor incomes, what are households doing? They are consuming goods and services produced by firms. This is circular flow of income. So if I repeat this, we have firms, we have households. Households provide factor services to firms. Using these factor services, firms produce goods and services. In return, firms also provide factor incomes. Using these factor incomes, households consume good. So, income is getting circulated from here to here, then again from here to here, depending on whether they are providing factor services. So, this is not just specific to one particular firm or just specific to one particular household. This is specific to entire economy. I am not talking here about one firm or one household. I am talking of the overall economy. एक economy से में सिर्फ दो ही type के लोग हो सकते हैं. Either it can be productive sector or it can be household sector. So, if you are productive sector, you are producing goods and services. If you are household sector, you are basically providing your factor services. In return for providing factor services, you get factor income. By using that factor income, you again consume goods and services. So when you are consuming goods and services, again income is going to firms. Using that income, they are again producing goods and services with the help of factor services provided by different households. So this is circular flow of income. So you can note it down and then we would be proceeding further. So just make notes as well, write down. Households' own factors of production. Households' own factors of production which firms use. Households' own factors of production which firms use to produce goods and services. Which firms use to produce goods and services. Households' own factors of production which firms use to produce goods and services. Next point. Firms pay income to households. Firms pay income to households in the form of. Firms pay income to households in the form of wages, rent, profits and interest. In the form of wages, rent, profits and interest in return for the use of factors of production. In return for the use of factors of production owned by households. In return for the use of factors of production owned by households. Next point. Households spend their incomes. Households spend their incomes on goods and services. Households spend their incomes on goods and services produced by firms. Next point. Increased spending by households increased spending by households will increase firms' incomes, will increase firms' incomes, so they will pay out more. So they will pay out more. Next topic is scarcity and different choices. Now in economics, we basically study economics because of this particular reason only, that resources are scarce. When I say resources are scarce, that means we have limited resources, but wants are unlimited. So limited resources है, human wants जो है unlimited है. So basically we have to decide how to allocate limited resources to unlimited human wants. This process of deciding how to allocate limited resources to unlimited human wants means we are going to make choices. We cannot be sure that we will be producing everything or we will be consuming everything. We cannot produce everything because we don't have that much land, labor, capital. We cannot consume everything because we don't have that much money. So I have to make sacrifice by choosing one and I mean rejecting another. And this option of choosing one and rejecting another gives rise to study of economics. अगर ये choices ही नहीं होंगे तो there would be no economics. So economics is study of these choices only. And this system of allocating limited resources to unlimited human wants is known as scarcity. It is because of scarcity of these resources that we are not able to allocate all the resources to all the people. This gives rise to choices. So the first choice is, since I cannot produce all the goods and services because of limited resources, this gives rise to first choice, what goods and services are to be produced and in what quantities. Like, I don't know which good and services to produce. So first choice that I would have to make is that which good and service I have to produce, what is the quantity that I have to allocate to each good. Let's say we have only limited land. Now in that limited land I can either produce X or I can produce Y. Or let's say I can produce 50 units of X and 50 units of Y. So if I have to produce 60 of X, I will have to sacrifice some of Y, then only I can increase production of X. So first choice would be allocation of resources to different goods. How many goods and services to be produced and in what quantities. This is my first choice. So first choice is what goods and services are to be produced and in what quantities. Next is, now once you have decided on the goods and services to be produced, like if you have decided that you are going to produce this much unit of X or this much unit of Y, the another choice that would arise is, how are these goods and services to be produced? Now when I say how, that means which production technique to be used. Now अभी हमने just discuss किया, we have limited labor, we have limited capital because of scarcity of resources. Now since we have limited labor or capital, I have to decide whether I have to make the technique as labor intensive or shall I make it capital intensive. If I am making labor intensive, that means I am making use of more labor, less capital. If I am making capital intensive, more capital, less labor. So which technique should be used for production? Because resources are limited. This is my second choice. Which production technique to be used? Last choice is, for whom are goods and services. Based on this, there was one MCQ that was asked in last diet. For whom are goods and services to be produced? That means basically how are you going to distribute national income? Are we producing goods for the rich one? That means are we producing luxury goods or are we producing necessity goods? If we are producing necessity goods, that means more of income would be distributed in this manner that we can basically consume necessity goods. So how basically is the allocation of national income going to be? More of luxury goods production or more of necessity goods production? So what goods and services are to be produced? How goods and services are to be produced? For whom goods and services are to be produced? Now, because of these choices, I told you we will have to accept one thing and reject another. This gives rise to concept of opportunity cost. Opportunity cost means, let's say, since we have limited hours to work, so that means either I can work in company A or I can work in company B. I cannot work in both the companies because I have limited hours to work. Company A is giving me salary of 50,000, B is giving me salary of 40,000. Now, being a rational consumer, I would always prefer more to less. So that means I will always prefer company A. Now, if I am choosing company A, let's say मेरे पास एक company C भी है which is offering 30,000. Now, if I am choosing company A, what's the best alternative that I am foregoing, that I am sacrificing? I am sacrificing 40 of company B and I am sacrificing 30 of company C. But the best in this is 40. So that means opportunity cost of choosing company A is 40,000. So opportunity cost is the cost of best alternative foregone. Like if you have 1 hour, in that 1 hour you can either study or you can go for walk. So the opportunity cost of going for walk is the 1 hour of study that has been foregone. Just quickly note it down. Let's do 1 or 2 questions based on this. We are doing chapter 1. Okay, so let's do one question. Mr. A is deciding how to spend next Saturday afternoon. She has 4 choices. One option is driving, which gives him a pleasure of 70 units. Another option is playing squash, which gives pleasure of 40 units. Another option is watching TV, giving pleasure of 25 units. Last option is going shopping, giving me pleasure of 15 units. So the question is, what is the opportunity cost of first part, driving, second part, going shopping? Start attempting, guys, fast. Mr. A is deciding how to spend next Saturday afternoon. She has 4 choices: driving, playing squash, watching TV, going to shopping. What is the opportunity cost of driving or going shopping? Anyone with the answer? So perfect. Opportunity cost of driving. देखो, the opportunity cost of driving means that if I am choosing driving, what's the best alternative that I am foregoing? So this is something which I have chosen. Now if I am choosing this, what the best alternative that I am sacrificing? I am sacrificing squash, TV, shopping. What is the best one? 40. So opportunity cost of driving is 40. Now do this in the similar way for going shopping. The driving one was easy. Tell me the opportunity cost of going for shopping. Perfect, 70. So if we are going shopping, that means I have chosen this. Now that means what have I sacrificed? These three. I have sacrificed driving, squash, TV. What is the cost of the best alternative that you have sacrificed, which is driving? So opportunity cost of going shopping is 70. So हमेशा when you are doing these type of questions, there is always a doubt कि let's suppose if we are playing squash. So okay, just tell me one more question का answer. What is the opportunity cost of playing squash? Like the similar way that you did for going shopping, if you are playing squash, what's the best alternative that you have foregone? Guys, quickly answer. Opportunity cost of playing squash is driving at 70 units or watching TV at 25 units. So perfect. Opportunity cost of playing squash would be, आपको ये देखना है कि आपने क्या sacrifice किया. So what's the best that you have sacrificed? Driving with plus 70 units of pleasure. So clear to everyone? Any doubts in this question? Let's do one more question. So start attempting question 1.2. An economy can produce either good X or good Y. The opportunity cost of producing an extra unit of good X is A, B, C or D. A says the value of capital and labor used to produce good X. B says the number of units of good Y that must be given up in order to produce an extra unit of good X. C, the cost of producing good X less the cost of producing good Y. D, the amount of good X that would have been produced in the following year. So guys, quickly respond. What is, if you can produce either good X or good Y, then what is the opportunity cost of producing an extra unit? So let's say we can either produce 50 units of X or 50 units of Y. Now if 50 की जगह I am producing 60 units. So 50X, 50Y. Now supposingly I want to produce 60 of X. Now if I have to produce 60 of X, definitely I will have to reduce some of Y because there are limited resources to produce both X and Y. So opportunity cost of producing an extra unit, that means जब आप 50 से 51 पे जा रहे हो, the opportunity cost of producing this extra unit of good X is something that you are sacrificing. So what is that you are sacrificing? Definitely you would be sacrificing some units of Y. So let's say if in order to produce 51 unit, I will have to reduce Y by 2 units. So for 50X, 50Y was my earlier production. Now in order to produce 51X, I will have to reduce Y by 2 units. That means opportunity cost of producing 1 unit extra of good X is 2 units of Y that have been sacrificed. Clear? So this is, with this we have completed 30% of chapter 1. It will take me 2 more classes to wind up chapter 1. So next week we will be having 2 classes to wind up chapter 1, and after that I will be moving to chapter 3. Chapter 2 we will do along with chapter 8. Chapter 1 के बाद I directly start with chapter 3, the main chapter from where economics starts. Okay, so that's it for the day from my side. In case you have any doubts, anything, you know, you can either mail us, WhatsApp us, or we have 3D Wednesdays or every week of the Wednesday. So every week of Wednesday, in case you feel you have any doubts, you can book your slot by Sunday, Monday for that particular week Wednesday, and can schedule a session with me for any doubts that you have related to the subject. Just make sure that because there are so many students and so many subjects, we have limited slots, so you book your slot by Sunday in case you have any doubts that you want to be discussed in Wednesday session. So every Wednesday of the week we have this 3D Wednesday. So make use of these doubt sessions as much as you can. So that's it from my side for the day. Thank you.